I'm back. Fuck, I forgot to take my Wellbutrin. Fuck. A little matcha. Welcome back to Queers and Steers. So early voting has already opened in Atlanta. As of this recording, about 6% of Georgians have already voted. That's about 600,000 people. So this video is for the remaining 94% who haven't yet voted, who are looking for progressive options. And honestly, the reason I'm making this video, when I lived in Los Angeles, I received countless mailers, notifications on my phone, sample ballots, and just information about who the candidates were. However, in Atlanta, I even missed a recent local election a few months ago because I had no idea that it was happening. And I think considering where we're at, we're in the South, there's a lot of voter suppression here. I think it's by design that the establishment doesn't want to educate or enable voters here because they want to control everything. So I'm creating this video for folks in Atlanta, Georgia who want to know who our candidates are and who the progressive candidates are specifically, and know that as a progressive, there are instances where there are people on the ballot that I just won't be voting for or endorsing even if they seem like the more progressive candidate. I am basing this off of their social media, their website, who they advocate for. Do they advocate for Palestine? Are they abolitionists, etc.? So if you're hoping that this video is going to stick to a binary, you are in the wrong place.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
The last thing I'll say before I kick off this progressive voter guide is that I live on the southwest side of the city. I'm going to focus on presidential candidates. I'm going to focus on the addendums on the ballot. And I'm also going to focus on candidates within my district as well as city council, like the special elections. Some of this will apply to you on a broad scale. If it doesn't apply to you, if I'm not in your district for whatever reason, please take the time to research your candidates and ensure that they align with your values. When I was compiling all this information, it took about 2 hours to compile. I'm spitting everywhere. It took about 2 hours to compile all of this information as well as to write down these notes for you. So I guess that it will take you about an hour to do all of the research on your candidates. Go to their websites. If they don't have a website, look for their social media, their Instagrams. Do they have a TikTok? What I did was I went to a lot of their Twitter accounts and typed in keywords like reform, police, Israel, Palestine to see if they had any comments about those key issues that are important to me, but search for keywords that are important to you before you consider voting for a candidate. Without further ado, let's do this.
Order them to use any and all means to protect the president.
First up, President of the United States! If you're like me, I would much rather vote for Harrison Ford from Air Force One or the nigga from Fifth Element. I forget his name, bald nigga. I would much rather vote for him. If you've watched my other videos, you know that I am pro Jill Stein. She is the only pro reparations candidate. She's the only anti-war candidate, universal health care, land back to indigenous people. She wants to abolish the Electoral College. She wants to reallocate police funds to community programs. She really checks off every box for me. And something I'll post on the screen as well. She recently revealed her plans for Black Americans specifically, which I will post here. And this, to me, is night and day difference from what Kamala is proposing, what Donald Trump is proposing, which is essentially nothing. And so I am Green Party, Socialist Party, all the way. I also really like Claudia de la Cruz. Her and her running mate are Latina, and they are a part of the socialist movement, which her and the Green Party have a lot of similar ideals, but to me, Jill Stein just has more tenure and has more of a likelihood to get to 5% of the vote. As a reminder, if a party receives 5% of the popular vote, they become eligible for extra funding, more recognition. It actually gives them a chance to be a part of debates, for example. So for me, my ideal is that even if Jill Stein can't win the election, I'm hopeful that she will get 5% of the vote, considering she's been the only anti-genocidal, anti-Zionist, pro-healthcare, pro-reparations candidate on the ballot like ever, and so she's getting my vote. Next up, House of Representatives, District 5. For me, I'm just gonna write somebody in for this one. So the incumbent, Nikema Williams, is a Democrat. So she's essentially a shoo-in at this point because she's the incumbent. That's typically how it works. She is pro-LGBTQIA 2S+. She is also pro-immigrant. However, after exploring her social media, she's pro-Israel. She condemns Hamas, yet she hasn't once denounced the genocide that Israel is committing against Palestinians. To me, she's a white supremacist in black woman's skin, and she's not going to liberate us. So for me, I'm gonna just write somebody in or leave this blank. Next up, House of Representatives, District 56. This is where it got kind of interesting for me for a second. So incumbent Misha K. Maynor, she used to be a Democrat, but she switched to the Republican Party. The gag is she has been very vocal about the ineffectiveness of police and has even made calls to defund them. She also recently tweeted about the displacement of black communities, environmental racism, as well as ensuring fair trials for detainees at Fulton County Jail. However, she voted against public school funding and instead focused on private schools, which leaves public school children behind. Her running mate, Democrat Bryce Berry, is a teacher who doesn't mention police or apartheid Israel on his website or social media, anything like that, but he's focusing on investments in public education, higher minimum wage, community land trusts, and expanding Medicaid access. I mean, for me, he's a staunch Kamala supporter, which to me, blue MAGA is a very real thing. And if you're voting for Kamala because she's the lesser of two evils, again, I in theory understand what you mean, but oftentimes those people are also anti-Green Party candidates. And to me, if you're not willing to see the benefit of voting for an independent or a Green Party, especially considering their platform, I don't know. That just that's not the greatest to me. Bryce Berry is endorsed by the North Georgia Labor Council and Leaders We Deserve, whose founder is staunchly anti-police. So I'm apprehensive, but I endorse Bryce Berry for House of Representatives, District 56. Senate District 39, so incumbent Sonia Halpern, she's running unopposed, but she is staunchly pro-police. So for me, I'm either gonna leave this blank or I'm gonna write in Kermit the fucking Frog. Next, the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. So this was fun for me to research. So you've probably heard of the Democratic incumbent Fani T. Willis. So in 2023, she secured an indictment against Donald Trump for election interference by using Georgia's anti-racketeering law to allege that he and 18 others had participated in a wide-ranging scheme to subvert the will of the state's voters. However, during the trial, news broke that Willis at one point had engaged in a romantic relationship with the special prosecutor Nathan Wade, whom she had picked to lead the prosecution against Trump and others. As a result, the case against Trump is stalled while the Republican-led House Judiciary Committee completes their investigation against Willis. Honestly, in my opinion, anybody who goes against Trump with such intention is kind of worthy of your vote. In some capacity. I don't know necessarily how liberationist or abolitionist focused she is, but I did read that she recently enhanced or added extra charges to somebody who was just in Atlanta for Black Pride, and they took a shit on a pride flag. So go off, queen. You're gonna get my vote. Next, Clerk of Superior Court. So the Democrat incumbent Shay Alexander has no running mate. She has 20 years experience adding efficiencies to court case management platforms, implemented e-filing, and reducing Fulton County Jail overcrowding by ensuring citizens' files were documented correctly. I wouldn't write in. I would just go ahead and vote for Shay. She's highly endorsed, highly educated, highly proficient for this role. And for me, again, I'm more of a burn the system down kind of person where we wouldn't even need this sort of system. However, she seems to be on the right side of history, so I'm voting for Shay. Next, Sheriff. So I thought the Democrat incumbent Patrick Pat Labatt didn't have a running mate, but he does. He has a progressive running mate for sheriff. His name is Charles Rambo. His website says, quote, "No one deserves to be housed in deplorable and violent conditions. Inmates at a particular jail can expect 5-star accommodations of internal order and discipline." Listen, if you're watching this and you consider yourself a Democrat and you're voting for Kamala and you're still gonna vote for, you're voting blue down the line or whatever, I would always choose somebody who considers himself progressive over just a Democrat, because at least on paper, this person is trying to make conditions more livable for inmates. But for me, it's ACAB all day. So I'm gonna write Bisan Audwa in the write-in section. If you don't know, Bisan has been documenting the genocide in Gaza by Israel for years now. And to me, she has done more detective work, more reporting, and done more for not only Palestinians, but just for the world and opening our eyes than any police officer ever could, probably combined. So I'm gonna write her name in for sheriff. Write in whoever you want, leave it blank, doesn't matter, but I'm not gonna vote for a cop, period. Next up, tax commissioner. So Democrat incumbent Arthur E. Ferdinand has no running mate. He's been in the position since 1996, and he is lauded for helping to add efficiency to property tax collection, which saves all of us money. I don't think a write-in is needed here. I would just vote for the incumbent Arthur E. Ferdinand. Next, surveyor. Surveyor? Surveyor. I think it's surveyor. Anyway.
What? Child. Anyway, so
Democrat incumbent Fred Quinn Jr. has this role. He has no running mate. He's a real estate broker and former financial analyst who wants to be an agent for change in our country. His website is really vague. Social media is vague, doesn't have a lot to offer there. And there's I don't have anyone to write in here. Works for me. I'm gonna go ahead and vote for him. I don't have anything against this person from what I can find online. Next, Solicitor General. A lot of these candidates just don't have a running mate, which makes me want to get into politics because I would be an incredible council member for the people, whatever. If you want me to run for office, leave a comment below. So Solicitor General, Democrat incumbent Keith E. Gamage has no running mate. He's all about restorative justice and streamlining traffic and ordinance violations to reduce fines, save time, and tax dollars for us. Sure, I'm gonna vote for the Democrat incumbent Keith E. Gamage. Next, County Commission District 6. So Democrat incumbent, I'm gonna butcher this name, I'm so sorry, love. Khadija Abdur Rahman has no running mate, but after October 7th of last year, she never mentioned the bombardment anywhere on her social media, but instead hosted an emergency assembly for voices of Muslims to combat and protect Muslims from threats and attacks. Anyone who holds political office, for me, it's most important if they are denouncing the terror that Israel is causing, but if they just don't say anything, I don't know, at this point, how could you not say anything? But I think it speaks volumes that at the same time, after October 7th happened and anti-Muslim rhetoric was coming out and all of this negative attention against Palestinians and Arabic people, Muslims, etc. Her first public appearance was a Voices of Muslims sponsored event. To me, that's pretty cunt. She's also endorsed by the same group, and unrelated, she hosts this event called BaldyCon in Atlanta just to showcase how badass bald people are. Listen, I'm voting for her. You go off. Khadija Abdur Rahman, you have my vote for County Commission District 6. Okay, last up before we get to the amendments, I'm gonna have to have some disclaimers on this because I don't want to get sued, but this story is or my perception of this is so fucked up. Let me just get into this really quick. So this is for Fulton County Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. The man's name is Alan Otwell Toney. There's no running mate, there's no write-in. It's literally, at least on my sample ballot, it's just a bubble with his name. There's nothing else you can select or write in. However, again, I was Googling people, I was looking for their social media. I Googled his name. This is a very, very, very specific name. Okay, Alan Otwell Toney, never met one, probably will never meet one, right? When you Google the name, an article comes up from 2015 that says a former Chatham County, so a county in Georgia, school teacher, again with his exact first, middle, last fucking name, who lives in Richmond Hill, was indicted Wednesday on charges he tried to lure a student into sexual contact. He was caught when the 13-year-old child's mother showed police the text messages. I am not confirming that this is the same person. I have no fucking clue. I compared their pictures. I will put them up on the screen. The accused versus the incumbent, the person for this position. You can draw your own conclusions. Are they related? Is it the same person? Is it just a fucking coincidence that they have the exact same name and both live in Georgia? I'm gonna let you decide. So the Fulton County Soil and Water website says that the Allen that is on the ballot, the one that we would be voting for, has been in this position since 1995, which is 20 years before this accusation of this person who coincidentally has the same name as him occurred. So based on that, they would not be the same person. And I don't know if they're the same person. However, the association and the proximity, it's too close for comfort for me. So I'm gonna leave this blank because that just weirds me out. On my sample ballot, there's no write-in, there's no running mate, it's just this person. I'm gonna leave it blank. I just can't. I can't. I refuse. Matcha really is that girl. I'm actually gagged that I'm getting through this so quickly. I can shower and I'm gonna make it to my doctor's appointment on time, hopefully. Okay, we are at the amendments and then special election. That's all we got left. Amendment 1. So Amendment 1 for Georgia provides for a general law statewide homestead exemption that may differentiate among political subdivisions. So what does that mean? So this amendment implements more transparency and uniformity around property taxes while allowing homeowners the opportunity to pay lower taxes. If the increase in value of your home increases faster than inflation, your home's taxable value won't be the market value, but instead the inflation value, if that is the lower value. Again, a lot of word jumble to basically just imply that like this should benefit homeowners and business owners by ensuring that like you're getting the lowest rate. So I am voting yes on Amendment 1 because we love lower taxes. Amendment 2. Amendment 2 provides for a statewide Georgia tax court to alleviate cases from the country superior courts who already handle these cases. That might need to be county superior courts. Anyway, that's what this does. So if anything, this alleviates pressure on the current system and in theory will speed things up for taxpayers who are required to go to court specifically for tax purposes. It unburdens the superior court in terms of time, and it guarantees the proper look at an appeal as well as puts it in the judicial branch. Because right now, all of the tax court cases right now in Georgia are going to the executive branch, and they should be going to the judicial branch because they already have more resources to handle it. But this amendment would basically instill another court to help with tax stuff specifically, and it's supposed to improve efficiency. So in theory, this will create jobs. It will add efficiency if you do have to go to court for tax purposes. So for Amendment 2, I'm voting yes. Lastly, Referendum A. So Referendum A raises the amount of tangible personal property tax exemption from $7,500 to $20,000. The last time this exemption was raised was in 2002, and it went from $500 to $7,500. This exemption will be most felt by small businesses so they can expense office supplies and equipment. So any additional tax rates for small businesses is a good thing. So for Referendum A, I am also voting a yes. Last but not least, this is a special election city council. So there are a lot of candidates here. And I'm sure if you live in Atlanta, you've been seeing like all of the signs with these people's names on it. I've seen Ashay Collins everywhere. I've seen Nicole Nikki Evans Jones everywhere. I almost voted for the only white woman on this list of 6 candidates, but then I got to the last person on this list, Devin Barrington Ward. He gets my vote, hands down. Devin is the only candidate out of these 6 who specifically calls out that the root of crime is racism, displacement, and mental health issues. Specifically, he says on his website, militarizing the police or building Cop City won't keep us safe. Investing in social programs, housing is a human right, and 311 instead of 911 will get to the root cause of disenfranchisement. He also specifically calls out demilitarizing the police so they can no longer harm Black and brown Atlantans. Because there are so many other candidates, and I feel like because I see more of these folks advertising themselves and their signs everywhere, I thought I would just highlight what the other candidates are standing for. Maybe it's not worth your time, but like, here's why I'm not voting for the other candidates. I had mentioned Amber Higgins Connor, so she's, again, the only white person who's running for city council, go off queen. I almost voted for her. She was gonna get my vote before I saw Devin's name and researched him, because she was the only other one to mention advocating for effective policing reforms, crime prevention strategies, victim advocacy, and transparency within the justice system. Albeit, she doesn't explicitly say what effective policing reform means. I mean, Democrats have been talking about police reform for fucking years on their platform, and we have more cops than ever. We have more Black people being killed than ever. So like when I hear somebody who wants to reform versus defund or abolish, don't really give a fuck, but like she was the only one to even bring it up anywhere. So Amber Higgins Connor almost had my vote, but she doesn't. Devin Barrington Ward does. The next person, Ashay Collins. Again, I see their signs all over the city. She states that she's focused on equity, education, and the environment. However, her website doesn't have like a single plan on position or specifics. I think of everyone's website, hers had the least amount of information. It was kind of just like bullet points. So it's a pass for me. The next one, Dr. Devwan Robinson, is focused on livable wages, water, and sanitation. That's appreciated. I don't know about you, but since moving here a year ago, I think I've had at least 2 water boil advisories, which is unnerving. And it's usually always in my neighborhood because they don't care about like niggas on the south side apparently. Don't know. So I appreciate that. However, they say we need leadership to work with police, which that's an automatic red flag. Police kill black people. Why do you want to work with them? Work with them how? Anyway, the last person, Nicole Nikki Evans-Jones, verbatim on her website says she will prioritize recruitment and retention of police officers. Next!
So I have to say next.
This Progressive Voter Guide has been a presentation of Queers and Steers. Please subscribe to the channel for more debauchery, politics, pop culture, technology reviews, and other things. No, but for real, go vote. 6% of Georgia has already voted. We love overachievers. Good for you. For the 94% who have yet to vote, I hope that you found this helpful. When I first started voting, I would focus only on the president, and honestly, anybody else, I would just vote blue down the line. We're not doing that anymore. The binary doesn't work. Voting for just one side doesn't work. I don't care about what your party affiliation is. I care about what you have to say. And that's gonna be my mantra moving forward. Actions speak louder than words, so don't care if you're progressive, Republican, independent. You gotta come with human rights. You gotta come with abolition of police and the military. You gotta come with trying to knock down capitalism. You gotta come with free healthcare for all. It's a no-brainer, y'all. We don't have time for anything else at this point. Climate change, world is flooding. I just read an article that for the first time ever, like the ocean and the trees didn't absorb any carbon dioxide, like none of it. That's a huge, like that is fucking major. We need trees in the water to absorb carbon dioxide because we don't. The atmosphere heats up and the hurricanes and the flooding, cakewalk compared to what's coming. Anyway, I'm not gonna get on a rant because you know I'm already wordy. Go vote. Go vote. Even if you watch this and you're like, I disagree with that, I'm for somebody else. Like this, for me, is the most progressive way that Atlanta Georgians can vote. Again, this is just focused on my district. I highly encourage you to research your candidates everywhere that you possibly can. It'll take you 45 minutes to an hour. Do it in a group. Get together with your friends and say, you know what, let's just have tea time, watch a movie, but then get together and do this research, divide and conquer, and decide a plan for each other and for yourselves. Georgia law prohibits phone use in the voting booths, so you can get and print off your sample ballot at mvp.sos.ga.gov, fill in your candidates, and you can take that piece of paper in with you to the voting booth. You just can't take your phone, so be really mindful of that once you start voting, you're not gonna have the notes on your phone to use as a reference guide. You have to bring in paper or something else besides phone. March to the polls! Thank you for watching. Go vote. Fuck apartheid America.